people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yep.
And if you care about people and you love people, it's amazing what can get accomplished. It takes zero courage to sit behind a keyboard at 9 o'clock at night and fire off bombs. It takes zero courage to do it. It takes all the courage in the world to call the person you're firing bombs on and say, hey, can we grab a cup of coffee and have a face-to-face conversation?
Welcome back to the Spotlight Podcast. My name's Tim Brandon. I'm excited to be with my guest, Paul Wyman, today. Real quick, huge shout out again and always to Community First Bank for being our first sponsor here. Just thank them for believing in us and being along this journey as we continue to spotlight leaders, entrepreneurs, founders, awesome stories from Indiana and beyond. Then also, as always, Vision Studio, who behind the camera sets up all this gear and really helps us press the easy button to generating content and then distributing that content all over the interwebs. So excited for my guest and my friend, Paul Wyman, who's on here today. And many people know you in the community and beyond, all over the place. But for those that don't, please introduce yourself and start all the way back, like from high school. That'd be fun.
High school, wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, first off, Tim, thanks for having me today. This is a great opportunity. I've admired your work for years, and so the opportunity to sit here and have a conversation with you, it means a lot to me. So I appreciate it. And I'll give a shout out to your first sponsor, Community First Bank, as well. I talk about leadership in a community. They truly are a community bank that invests in the community, and I love that about them. So appreciate them as well. But yeah, I mean, my story to how I ended up in Kokomo, Indiana, I'm from the East Coast originally, and youngest of 8 kids, and mom and dad, I was born and raised in New Jersey, and then mom and dad retired to Pennsylvania in my last few years of high school, and so I actually graduated from high school in PA. And I went in the Air Force after high school. And in the Air Force, I got to travel the world and see some of the most incredible things and participate in things that really gave me this incredible sense of appreciation for our country, appreciation for freedom, all that kind of stuff. And serving our country was one of the greatest honors of my life. And fortunately for me, my last assignment when I was in the Air Force was Grissom Air Force Base, just north of Kokomo. And I would just tell you, it was easy to fall in love with Midwest living versus East Coast living. Sure. And so I just decided, I want to make this home when it was my time to get out of the Air Force. And so I did. I got out of the Air Force and moved down to Kokomo, Indiana, and started out in the financial services sector and got involved in some real estate things over time. And it just came to the point where I was like, it's time to make a decision here, and I chose the real estate route.
Yeah. So when you were at Grissom, it was an active base?
Yeah, so it was still full-time active duty base. And then as I was getting out of the military at that time, it was transitioning to a reserve base. Okay. And so they were going through the transition. And then I did another 4 years of reserves after I got out. So I was living here at Kokomo. I did 4 years reserves in the Air Force up there as well.
Very cool.
Hi, this is Ariel, Fraud Manager at Community First Bank of Indiana. We hope you've been enjoying the episode so far. If you're a business owner, you already know that there's a lot to manage every day. And unfortunately, fraud is one of those risks that never takes a day off. As you're listening today, here's a question that you might be glad you asked. What can I do now to reduce my risk of fraud? Step 1. Develop strong internal controls by monitoring your bank accounts daily and conducting regular audits of your financial records. Step 2, implement strict payment controls such as requiring dual control when submitting ACHs or wire requests. Step 3, protect your financial data. Use multi-factor authentication on all of your online accounts and never use public Wi-Fi to check your bank records. Step 4, educate yourself and your employees on how to spot common scams targeting small businesses such as phishing scams and social engineering tactics. This is key to preventing financial loss. Thanks for letting us jump in and be a part of the conversation. If you ever want to chat or need help thinking through options, our team is here to help. Community First Bank of Indiana is a member of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. All right, we'll let you get back into the main interview.
Yeah.
So walk through that. So the military, obviously, there's so many different experiences. You traveled all over the world. You made friends. And I was an Air Force guy, too, so that's cool.
Appreciate
we got
you.
that in common.
There you go.
and I love veterapreneurs is what I call them. I always encourage, folks, maybe we've got some veterans or military folks that are listening to this now. Just want to quick sort of encourage them to get in the way of that new mission forefront, which could be entrepreneurship or developing the thing or working on the thing that they've got in their mind. Just kind of have that little catalyst of belief. There's two vets right here, right. Entrepreneurs. So welcome them to that. I'm curious, what did the first year at the Wyman Group? It's always been that name, right?
Since day one. Yeah.
So walk me through the first year of that, transitioning from the military, into entrepreneurship and business. Walk me through that first year.
Yeah. Well, the military has a way of giving you some great skill sets. And, one of the mindsets that I always take out of the military and transfer into the entrepreneur world was that in the military, if you weren't in the theater of operation, you could never win the war. And so in entrepreneurship, when I look at building a company, that's our theater of operation. And we've got to be all in. And anybody who's joining us or working alongside of us needs to be in that theater of operation with us to help guarantee a successful outcome. And so a lot of the things that I learned over time or my experience in the military, I've absolutely equated right into my entrepreneurial journey. And so that first year of opening up a company and, investing money and time and effort to say, hey, here we are, we're going to build this company. It's no easy task, and it's a lot of risk. And in the military, my background in the military really gave me a lot of that strength and courage to do that, because in the military, you're taking a lot of risk. You're going into countries, you're doing things. And I had the privilege to serve in Operation Desert Shield over in Saudi Arabia in the first Persian Gulf conflict when Iraq invaded Kuwait at that time. And so being over there in country during that time and having those experiences, sometimes you feel like when you're starting a company, you're doing battle, right? You're battling the established companies. The competition's huge. You're battling the naysayers. You're battling all the different things that it takes to get a company up and running, and then also assuming all of that risk and meeting a payroll and realizing that people are relying on you and you're responsible to people and their families and all those sorts of things. So the first year was all about getting that together and making sure that, we surrounded ourselves with great people. And that's probably been one of the greatest parts of the success in our journey has been the people we've surrounded ourselves with. And I always tell people, if you want to do great things, surround yourself with great people. And we've just been absolutely blessed by the people who have been on this journey with us. And it's my hope and prayer that we've been a blessing to them. And that's how it all works out. So that first year was a struggle. It's the least amount of money I ever made in my life. And but it was well worth it, and it all paid off because we just stayed focused and persisted right through it and got to it here, our 25th anniversary.
That's awesome, man. Congrats on that.
Thanks,
too, by the way.
Appreciate it.
Talk about the importance of, you mentioned getting around the right people, and I've heard the saying in the past, your vibe attracts your tribe, and just it rhymes, so kind of remembered it.
Right.
And you hear successful entrepreneurs talk about it all the time. It's if you hang around 5 millionaires, you'll be the sixth.
It's my mantra when I talk about that.
So how, for somebody that's has aspirations to grow their company, maybe they're in real estate, maybe they're whatever it is, what are some practical ways that they can get in the way of opportunity and get around sort of this tribe of folks that they can grow and sort of bring into their
I mean, if you sit down and say to yourself, here's where I want to be in 1, 3, and 5 years, and you look at those goals, then you should be going and hanging out with people that have accomplished those things in life. So to your point about if you hang out with 5 millionaires, you'll be the sixth. Well, if you hang out with 5 idiots, you're going to be the sixth, right? There's the flip side to that. It's not just about, can I be a millionaire or successful, but if I pick people in my life that are holding me back or they're not bringing value to my life, there's a good chance I get pulled back in that too. So if I see myself buying the next level up home in 5 years, well, I should hang out with people who are living in that type of a home, or I should look at people who are successful in life and how do I get in front of them? And well, there's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different groups you can join with very successful people. You could get in the Rotaries, you can get into the Chambers of Commerce and all these different organizations and groups out there that you immediately are now around successful people. And then you have to be intentional about it. You have to be intentional of getting time with them and asking them for that cup of coffee and saying, hey, can I pick your brain for 30 minutes or something along that lines? And most successful people, they have that mindset. Of course, I'm glad to do that for you. And they'll do it. And what you'll get out of that is just, it's invaluable. And so look at where you want to be and go find the people who are doing that, have those conversations, and then be prepared to do the hard work that it takes to accomplish that. And you put those two things together and nothing's going to stop you.
Love that, man. What do you say to somebody that, I guess, what's the process to first decide here's where I want to be, and what maybe keeps people from having that initial catalytic thought of like, here's where I actually want to be in 3 to 5 years, just to kind of, get into that motion of getting around the right people?
What stops most people is fear, right? People don't want to fail. And so there's this element of, wow, that's a big risk because that's a big dream or a big goal. And to do that, how am I going to do it? But what if I fail? What does that look like? And so the first thing in entrepreneurship is just understanding that failure is more common than what people believe in entrepreneurship. It's, can you persist through those moments? Can you learn from those failures and then take those and use those failures as a building block? And if you can, then that ramps down a little bit of the fear and then pursue it. But everybody's goals are different. Everybody's definition of success is different. And so it really has to be a personal thing about where I want to be in 1, 3, and 5 years. And I can't define that for other people. Sure. But if somebody can define for me where they want to be in 1, 3, and 5 years, certainly can give you advice on my experiences in how we got there, or how you might be able to get there, or who you might need to talk to, or who I might be able to introduce you to. But it's a very personal thing on where people want to be in 1, 3, or 5 years. But once you make that commitment and that decision, it's got to be an all-in moment.
Love that. So for the entrepreneur that, fear will keep you stuck, or it can be a propellant at times that can move you towards an objective. I know there's times in my life where restlessness and discontent, or being in a rock and a hard place, forced me to actually take the plunge or jump in. Yeah. Or a lot of times, I'm naturally, just being honest, reserved, or a little bit, tactically shy, if you will. But what would you tell someone that, is maybe has fear of success or fear of failure, or maybe they're just scared in general of being visible, right? Yeah. Like they've spent a lot of time behind the scenes. They've been working a task. What would you tell somebody about that's maybe specifically afraid of being visible, or being like putting on the definition of entrepreneur or founder?
Yeah. Look, leadership's not for the faint of heart.
Right.
That's the bottom line when it comes to leadership. And the best thing that I think you could do is understand what you're about to take on, like understand all components of it. So if you are going to step up and put yourself out front and be a leader or an entrepreneur, just understand there's certain things that are going to come at you, whether it's a form of criticism or whether it's a form of people who are saying, well, how are you going to get that done? And they're just not being like supportive. They're more talking in a way that makes you feel like, oh, maybe I can't do this type thing. Yeah. There's always going to be those elements, right? And so what you just have to decide is, okay, those elements, they're there, but here's how I'm going to come around that. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on being around people who are going to help me accomplish those goals, people who are going to help motivate me, keep me interested in the game, and get me where I need to be. And I'm going to pair that with my personal commitment and hard work. And if I pair those two things together, that's going to get me past the element of fear. It's going to get me past the naysayers, because at the end of the day, people who are supporting me and my work ethic and my commitment are going to win out every single time in that deal. But anytime any of that wavers, if you're not hanging out with the right people or getting the right support, or you're questioning yourself, then you get pulled back toward this other group. And so you just got to stay committed, you got to stay focused, and you got to persist and get through it.
Love that. Adapt and overcome.
Adapt and overcome.
Yeah. So I believe that you're either adding or subtracting. Like in every room that you go to, I believe that you're either going to add or you're taking away. Yeah. So, knowing that there's going to be folks that are committed to not necessarily a solution, but they're more furious than curious. They are going to dislike, you or whatever you have going on. How do you handle those arrows, or how do you handle those folks, right? Because a lot of people say, I don't care. People say this. I know I do care. I think we're all affected by negativity or,
Sure.
Those arrows, right? How do you gracefully take those? How do you be prepared, right? Like as a leader, knowing that, hey, this is going to happen. You're going to have opposition, especially as you start moving. There's another saying, a mentor of mine said, dogs don't chase parked cars, right? And this is kind of this thought, it makes sense. So when you start moving, you're going to have folks that maybe...
Yeah, dogs don't chase parked cars, or if you stop to feed every barking dog along the way, you'll never get where you're going, right? So, you brought up negativity. Look, there are just negative people in this world, right? When their alarm clock goes off in the morning, it's their sole mission to see whose lives they can ruin that day. Right? Who can I tear down? Who can I gossip about? Who can I just be this, miserable person and put that on other people? And it's unfortunate, but they exist in this world. And so, my mindset when it's come to negative people has been through things I've learned through mentors or just my own personal beliefs about negative people. So, my grandpa told me, he said, hey, don't wrestle with skunks, because when you get done, the skunk liked it and you smell. Right. And so, it's like you keep that in your mind going, why am I entertaining this over here? Why would I even spend any ounce of energy in my day over here with negative people when their whole concept and their mission in life is it's easier to pull somebody down from the top than to pull yourself up? So these people already don't have the mindset that I have about life in general. I don't want to gossip about people every day. I don't want to ruin people's day every day. I'm more interested in finding good than I am doing what they do. So they don't get my time. And so negative people are not part of my life. They're not part of my circle. And if I feel that negativity, I'm just walking away from it. I'm dismissing myself from that room or whatever the case may be, because I'm just not going to have that in my life. There's no time for it, not with what I want to accomplish in life or what I want to feel that I want to bring value to other people in my life. There's just no room for negativity.
Yeah, I feel that. And we all know, some folks that are just committed to being pessimistic, or that's become their identity through the practice of anger, right? And this operation or sort of mind frame that they're in. And I often try to think about these folks and what's actually going on behind the front end. Yeah. Like what's their operating system, what happened in their life, and it helps me to love them despite what the front end is saying or doing or acting. It's like, man, I want to better know you. I want to better understand you. I can't engage in this, right? Because I'm moving this way. But man, just know that like I want to better understand you. That's kind of the phrase that I was saying. Be more curious than furious. I've met angry people. I've met hurt people. Yeah. And immediately I'm just aggressively curious more than I'm immediately getting angry. And I guess, talking about leadership, leading yourself, how can somebody, if they're, maybe listening to this and they are more of a pessimistic or an angry person and they're having a thought, how do they not stay angry? I don't think people want to be angry, right? Yeah. So how do you recognize that, hey, I'm harboring this? Sure. And how do I switch it off maybe? Or how do I think through?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I don't ever want to act like anger is not a legitimate emotion, right? I mean, there are things that cause people to be angry. There are times I've been angry in my life. Sure. But it also becomes a personal decision as to how long you're going to let that anger continue to eat you up or stay docked at your harbor, right? So, if the decision is, okay, I recognize I'm angry right now, and this is why I'm angry, but now I've got to bring solutions to this. Now I got to find a way out of this. And that whole mindset of switching over to now finding solutions and finding a way out so I can move forward is the critical component. And that's the part most people don't do in their anger. They'd rather hold the grudge, or they want to blame, or you're the problem, and they're going to hold that anger or grudge against you for a long period of time. I'm more interested in, okay, let's recognize we're angry, but now let's get past this. How do we move forward? Right. Because there's so much more better things down the road that we're working toward together than opposed to hold on to this anger.
Right. Yeah, leading yourself, it's hard. I mean, I've got young kids. I've got Caden, who's 8 somehow already, and Finley, who'll be 6 soon. And talk about being introspective, right? Like when you have kids, you see what's modeled, and you see how they go through things. Everything from, going through the discontent of wanting to leave the playground early,
Sure.
or upset because they didn't get the extra scoop of ice cream, whatever it is, right? It's like, well, wait a minute, how do I coach this?
Sure.
How do I handle anger? How do I handle disappointment? How do I process these things? And it's been a heck of a journey
Oh, look, our kids are our greatest blessings, right? And, every phase of their life or every season of life brings new challenges, but it also brings great excitement for that phase of life. And so, when kids are really, really little, they're relying on you for every single thing. And as they become adults, then they're relying on you for less. And there's transitions through all of that. And, having dinner, as a family the other night with my 2 adult children, the conversation is just drastically different than when they were in middle school, right? And so those are the seasons of life that change and move. But as a leader of your family or as a leader just in general, I completely hear what you're saying about how are we reacting to those moments. What does that look like? And what are you showing your children in those moments of leadership that they will then take into their life, right? And there's been a lot of that, whether it's been as a business owner or was when I was county commissioner. My kids were able to view and see those leadership moments a ton. And I often would think about that, it's not just my kids that are seeing this, but the community's seeing how we're leading in this moment, whether it's a difficult moment or a celebration moment or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Love that. Kids do what you do, not all the time like what you say.
Yeah.
They model that, and that's something I always try to keep in my mind too. Yeah. As far as, leaders in general, do you think we have more leaders or less leaders?
I would say that there are, when you say less leaders, define that for me. Like,
so just
what do you
in
mean?
general, and let's just take the whole United States. Do you think that there's more people that are leaders now, or we sort of have a lack of leadership?
Yeah, I don't think everybody's a leader. Leadership is one of those things that not everybody's cut out for. And a lot of times I talk about followership, that sometimes good followership is good leadership and you don't even realize you're being a leader. And so sometimes the people who are on the team that aren't out front leading, but they're doing the critical work and they're getting it done and they're doing it in a way that just drives great success, they're leading the way they are. Sue Gasecki said it best one time. She said, lead from where you are. So you don't have to be the leader, but where are you right now? And are you leading that moment? Are you leading that task? Are you leading that one outcome that the team needs to be successful? Right. And so sometimes when I look at it in that sense, there are a lot more leaders that don't understand they're leading that moment. But leaders in general that can see the big vision and lead people to an end result, those leaders, I think, are less than the total of leadership, if that makes sense what I'm saying.
Love that. And as you're talking about leadership, I'm thinking about boards, I'm thinking about founders, whether they're solo entrepreneurs or large companies. Like, leadership is highly important. Are leaders good question askers?
Oh, you have to be. There's times, I have this a lot of times, like I'll ask for, sometimes for input or, give me your thoughts or advice. And then sometimes when you don't use all the thoughts or advice, there's that moment of like, why are you asking me? You didn't even listen to me type thing. But the truth of the matter is you need all the input to make a final decision. But as a leader, the ultimate decision lands on you. And so you're going to make a decision based on the input you receive. So I think asking the right questions is important. But sometimes as a leader, when you know where you're trying to get to, there's sometimes you truly have to lead and make those difficult decisions. And sometimes people don't understand it in the moment, but most times when you make those difficult decisions and then you put the effort and the work and everything behind it, people respect that in the end, especially when you get there and it's accomplished. Everybody's like, wow, that's incredible. Sure. And so it works out from that perspective.
How important is vision in association to leadership then?
Yeah, I think it's especially in the entrepreneur world, it's critical. If you're starting, in my case, a real estate company, you can't lay out a vision for how we want to do this and why it's better and different than others, and people can't see that vision, there's no buy-in, right? And so, from our standpoint, we came into the market and there were already 50 real estate companies here in North Central Indiana. And so, immediately, why are you starting a real estate company? Why you blah, 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 blah. And the truth of the matter is, the mindset was, well, maybe we can do this differently. Maybe we can deliver an experience that people are really going to appreciate. And we're going to have a culture in our community or in our company that I believe is different. And so, our culture of giving back, our culture of being all in the community and making our community a better place, I believe is a culture that's unmatched in our community. And so those are the kind of things that unite us, bring us together, have us all working toward common goals and saying, hey, we're out selling this community every day. We're going to make our community a better place every day. And those two matched up has just been a powerful formula for us.
Love that, man. And it's such an entrepreneurial thought too. And like, I think the catalyst to it all is belief. You have to, step one, believe in your abilities to get results.
Yeah.
Because if you don't early on, who is, right?
Yeah.
Like you haven't proven it, right, to the market. And there's this weird, phase when you're first starting a business that your friends and family, they don't really take you serious a lot of times.
Sure.
It takes a lot of, churning and burning to get to a place where you start to adopt some well-dones and things of that nature. So there's this period of time. But, to be thinking about how can we carve out a market, or how do we become the logical choice in a dominated industry? You show up, you got 50 big companies. Yeah. What are some of the things that just made you guys stand out and become that go-to choice and build the relationships that are necessary? Sure. Just walk me through a few of those things that helped you guys carve out, because you're a private.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So we're a locally owned private company. We're not affiliated with a national franchise. And look, I love my national franchise friends and competitors. They're phenomenal. But we take those dollars and we just invest them in the community locally based on decisions that we make as a locally owned company, which we're proud of. And so when you say how does that all kind of happen? Well, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's about surrounding yourself with great people. I take the realtors that we have within our company that are totally bought into this concept and this vision of giving back and helping the community and taking great care of their clients. I'd go to war or battle with any one of the realtors on our team today. They're just phenomenal people that care. Yep. And when you can be going in every single day and being surrounded by people that care like they do, it's inspiring and motivating for me. It makes me want to work harder. It makes me want to do bigger and better things. And hopefully those things end up benefiting them as well. And so oftentimes it's my realtors that are an inspiration to me based on how they're going about their business as well, and making a difference.
Love that, man. So realtors are entrepreneurs, right?
100%.
I mean, so what are some of the characteristics, or what are some of the ingredients to an awesome realtor, just in general?
When I interview people, what I'm really interested in is a history of success, and so if I'm interviewing a young person, how you asked me at the beginning was really interesting. You said start in high school. Yeah. If I'm interviewing a young person, I want them to do that too. I want them to go back to high school. I want to hear, were you part of a club? Were you the president of the chess club? Were you on a sports team? What was your, were you contributing, and were you doing things that show me a history of success? And then all the way up to people who are middle-aged or older, what's been your history of success? Because it's the number one indicator if somebody's going to move forward and be successful in life. And but if nobody has a history of success, and you start picking up on the vibe that, man, you're more negative than you are positive, and you're more about creating havoc within an organization as opposed to being a team player, that stuff comes out when you immediately start trying to understand somebody's history of success. Because if they can't show you a history of success, there's a reason.
Sure.
What's causing that? Why haven't we had successes, whether you're in high school, whether you're in college, or in your working career? And a lot of times some of those things come back to some of the things we've been talking about earlier, is the negative people or the critics or that sort of a thing.
Love that. So there's the thing that's exciting, right? You hear about these things that you can do to start building sort of the grit and a winning mentality, sort of a track record of success. The cool part is you could start today. You could start immediately, right?
Yeah.
To get into opportunities to challenge yourself and discipline yourself. It could be as simple as little tasks that you set up for yourself at home, right? You could make your bed every morning. Or if you are able to analyze where you're weak and where you're strong, I think, gathering the data, leading yourself to sort of learn, here's where I'm strong, right? Here's these things I'm really good at, but man, how can I, or what if I, or, right, you get to this planning. And I think, for folks that are distracted, right, that'll at least admit that they're distracted by this and the news and the world around them, how do you discipline yourself to plan? And how do you sort of, start this audit? If they're interested. So some of these entrepreneurs or folks that are listening.
Well, nobody knows you better than you do, right? You know yourself. And I encourage people all the time to take that self-inventory of what they believe are great qualities about them as a human being. Everybody has them. We're all unique individual, miracles, and everybody has these unique qualities. And so take time to learn them, identify them, and to love yourself a little bit. I tell people all the time, I go, if you can love who you are and what you are about as a person, you're going to love other people in a pretty special way. But a lot of times people, they're afraid to love themselves, or when they look in the mirror, they're not feeling that love for who they are and what they bring to this world. And every person brings something special to this world. So if you can take some time and do that analysis, then you're going to say, okay, well, these are the great things about me. So what are my habits and what are the things I'm doing to support that, to build that and be able to take that and transcend it into an entrepreneurial journey or whatever success in life that I'm pursuing. And so what are those habits of mine that can help lead to success? And so people say to me, well, Paul, what are some of your habits? And, we can talk about working out 3 or 4 times a week. We can talk about all those types of things. But, one of my more important habits in my life is find good, do good, feel good. Like every day of my life, I want to find good. I want to find good in people. I want to find good in companies. I want to find good in our community. And then wherever I find that good, I want to do good. I want to do good with who's doing good. I want to do good and set the example of doing good for other people. And then I want to feel good about that. Because, like every night I tell people, when I lay my head down on my pillow at night, I just want to know, did I impact somebody's life positively today? And if I did that, I'm going to sleep really good tonight, right? And that's the whole, find good, do good, feel good.
And man, I've got kind of a front row seat to these stories and impacts that you've made that I don't think anyone else will really know. You take a lot of heat, right, for being who you are. And I think, again, that comes with a track record of success and decisions, right? You're making decisions and moving things forward with your heart and mind intact. But I've got a chance, sort of a front row seat, being in the SBDC and the nature of what we do in entrepreneurship support. I meet 8 to 10 plus entrepreneurs a week, and several of those people have had a conversation with you or have brought up the fact that you've taken time out of your day and invested hours into an action plan for them, or into book recommendations, or into just sitting and chopping it up and sharing leadership philosophies. And there's not many people that I run into that are actively just giving that, like stewarding their time, that are, whether they're at the financial level or title level that you are or not. There's just very few men and women that I've met that are doing that work, the sort of shadow work behind the scenes. And so that's just a big salute to you, man. And thanks for doing that. You're not even wearing the thing, right? Like you're not but you're finding good and those people, and then you're doing good by investing into some of these folks that I think a lot of times, at least some of the folks I'm thinking of in my mind, don't currently feel investable. They don't currently feel and know that they're valuable and capable, and it can work for them. If they get into the mix, the dojo of entrepreneurship or building and creating something. So
well, it's the old saying is, to whom much is given, much is expected. and I have been blessed way beyond what I deserve. And so the opportunity to give back, or the opportunity to invest in somebody else and share what I've learned or my experiences or any wisdom that I would have to offer, I can never pass up that opportunity. And it speaks directly to my leadership philosophy of people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yep.
And if you care about people and you love people, it's amazing what can get accomplished. And so, anybody that's thinking about starting an entrepreneurial journey, or anybody that has a difficulty or a struggling moment in life, if I can be there in that moment, I want to be there in that moment.
Yeah.
Can't let the naysayers, the critics, all that kind of stuff, can't let that slow you down. You got to stay focused on what the end game is.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you do a lot of leadership counselings, and you do some consultation work even for organizations that are trying to get a better grasp on leadership or get their managers to where they need to be. I want to talk about, to kind of shift a little bit, talk about Indiana and then Howard County, right, where we both live too. And just what's going on in Howard County? What are you excited about? Or what are some ways that, our founders or entrepreneurs support organizations could start positioning themselves for opportunity, or learn about what's happening sort of in our ecosystem?
Well, look, our community, you just look at the last 15 years or so, has come a long way. I could not be more excited about where our community is positioned today for the next 10, 20, 30 years down the road. And, our community has had some tremendous up and downs over the years. Mm-hmm. And, if you look at some of the difficulties of natural disasters, like 2 tornadoes in a short period of time, a flood, those sorts of things, you saw a community rise up and take care of each other in ways that to me is just unmatched. Cool. And it's one of the things I love about Kokomo and Howard County is the people, right? It's the people that make this place so special, and why, people oftentimes say, and Herb said it best from IU Kokomo, that all roads lead to Kokomo. And I think it's because of the attraction of the people and the people we get to be around every day. And so when I look at it from that standpoint, that makes our community great. And then you look at the great things that have happened, and you look at the companies that are investing here, and all of the growth that we've seen in quality of life. You look at the new YMCA, the baseball fields, the trails, the Creek Chubs, the new baseball team, and the excitement they're bringing, huh?
So let's go Chubs.
Let's go Chubs. You look at that type of stuff. You look at the quality of life things that have been happening in our community in the last 10, 15 years. They are just all top-notch things that make people want to live in a community, get excited about a community. And then you look at the investment that's happened, the investments that we've seen from Stellantis, the investment from Star Plus Energy, all the affiliated supplier companies of Star Plus Energy. These are creating thousands of jobs in our community and providing meaningful opportunities for families in our community. And so people are looking at Kokomo. As you said earlier, I travel the state a ton in my work, and people constantly, when they say, here, I'm from Kokomo, Indiana, they go, holy cow, we read about Kokomo all the time. We're hearing about Kokomo. Kokomo's on the map. I was just down in southern Indiana the other day, and there was a Travel Indiana magazine on the table in the lobby. And I pick up Travel Indiana magazine, and what's in Travel Indiana magazine? Kokomo, Indiana. This is why you want to go spend the day in Kokomo. Yep. 15 years ago, you'd have never found us in Travel Indiana magazine, but we're there today. Yep. And so there's so many great things happening. And so we're blessed that companies like the Samsungs of the world, like some of the most renowned international companies that are having some of the greatest impact on the world, have chosen Kokomo, Indiana. Yep. And they're here, and they're creating jobs and creating products that are being used all around the country and the world. And the hope is they bring more, because they love Kokomo, because they have fallen in love with our community. And so when we're seeing that type of growth and those types of things happening, you sit there and you say, holy cow, we are on the move. Yeah. And believe me, it's being recognized. And then you put a hotel conference center down in downtown Kokomo, which is just looking unbelievably beautiful. Got a tour the other day. Unbelievable. There's going to be 200, 300, 400, 500 people at a time coming to our community for conferences that are now going to see and learn about Kokomo, Indiana. And then they're going to come back and they're going to visit and they're going to do all kinds of things. And we see it no different on the Haynes-Apperson Festival. People travel in all the time from all over the region, and they come and they spend a few days in Kokomo and enjoy the festival, and people talk about our community. And so there's so many great things happen. We could do a whole nother podcast on just what's going on in Kokomo, Indiana, because it's unbelievable. Yeah. And that's a testament to leadership. It's a testament to companies and organizations that are investing in our community, being what I call good corporate citizens. They're all in, they're invested, and they're trying to help make quality of life the best that it can possibly be. And then you take your elected officials' leadership, and they're invested in attracting great companies like the Samsungs of the world and folks like that to come to our community. And they stay above the fray, and they stay focused on those big things. Because as you know, there's people out there that want to criticize any type of growth, right? They want to throw out their negativity or throw whatever. And thank God we have elected officials. And, I go back to Mayor Goodnight and the great things he did for our community. And that carried forward into Mayor Moore and the great things that he and the city are focused on doing for our community and the city council. And you look at leaders like that have endured criticism for the big, bold things that they have wanted to do, but nobody can argue with the success and the outcome of those now, right? It's like people are going, holy cow, I was firing bombs early on because I thought this, but now look how great it's working out, right? And, and so that's the kind of things that I'm thankful for every day is the people who are willing to step up and lead and do big things and keep our community special.
Love that, man. And I think it kind of goes back to when you are aggressively curious, you'll figure out ways to get involved. You'll figure out ways to support. You'll figure out ways to share, right, effectively with a solution in mind, which is what we need more of. Like, people leading themselves, but leading right where they're at, like where your boots planted. Okay, sure. Start opening doors for folks. Sure. Start sharing it's free 99 to share a good word with somebody or smile or, like I said, open a door. I think the state in general is on the move doing bold things all across 100%. The state. It's fun. We manage 12 different counties throughout our region in the Hoosier Heartland region. And there's so many, I think there's been a huge new burst of people wanting to get into entrepreneurship and create additional incomes with the rise of the internet, right? And new plans and things, information that's just out there in general and accessible. And I think belief, because people are watching YouTube, people are investing into ways that they can hit their goals and objectives. There's more hope and belief. So I think we're seeing a rise in that. The biggest thing that I want to, we have so many awesome structures here. It's easy to critique stuff, but really here in Howard County in general, we have an umbrella of our support organizations and team members, right, that make all these logistics and events and things happen. Sure. And I think it's still unknown. I think that there's still a lot of people that just don't know that there are free resources in the community. There's events occurring. There's ways that you can get in the way of opportunity and even share your feedback and contribute into these groups. So I think I'm proud to be here too. Yeah. It's ultimately what I'm getting at. I love Kokomo and I choose to be here, just like you. And so anybody that's actively putting work in to better it and genuinely has a heart and mind for improvement.
That's what we stay focused on is the people who want to contribute to society. Social media has this way of making people believe, or there's a perception that, oh my gosh, everybody's against something, or oh, it's the end of the world because it's 5, 10, 20 people are just, but there's so much good happening. And the good that's happening are people just out making the good happen. They're not spending time on the social media side of Kokomo. They're just out making great things happen in the community. Yep. And so that's what we have to focus on.
So on the topic of criticism and, social media in general, you get attacked and you don't respond that I've ever seen. Yeah. Walk me through how you handle it and maybe why aren't you?
Yeah. So, part of it comes back to my leadership mentality when it comes to criticism. And so first and foremost, when people criticize, I sprinkle a little bit on my breakfast every morning, and I just eat it because it motivates me. And so people say to me all the time, well, hey, Paul, when somebody's criticizing you on social media, how come you're not out there and you push back and fire back? And I just tell people all the time, I say, look, first and foremost, I can't type as fast as they can lie. All right. So that's number one. Number two, the minute I engage and push back, then I'm going down a rabbit hole and there's 5 other people that want to pile in. And for the next 2 hours of my life, I'm trying to keep up and go back and forth. If you think for 1 second, the valuable time that I do have away from work and building and doing great things that I'm going to spend on social media with people who are not contributing to society and having arguments with them, there's no way. That time's going into my family. That time's going into spending time with friends or doing good things for the community. And so I can't go down that rabbit hole. And so, look, there's a group of people in our community that they would just rather throw bombs, tear down, and that's what they live for every day. And that's not who I am or what I'm about or what I believe in. So we're just going to keep doing big things, and we'll let the critics who have a keyboard say what they want, and then the end result is a great outcome. And so, like, recently at the Haynes Aberson Festival, there are a handful of people on there wanting to criticize the festival. Well, if you came to the festival this year, you would have seen thousands upon thousands of people every night in the park celebrating everything that's great about Kokomo. Yeah. So I can either listen to these 10 or 20 people over here saying horrible things, or I could be motivated by the thousands upon thousands of people in the park. Where do you think I'm going to land? Right. I'm sitting there celebrating with thousands of people dancing, singing in the park, celebrating all that's great about Kokomo and Howard County. That's what drives me, not this over here, which is why I can't spend time on it. Yeah. And so, again, people got to make a decision. You can contribute to society or make a decision not to. Sure. And the people that just throw bombs, they have made a personal decision to not contribute to society. Yeah. I want to find the people who want to contribute, and we're going to lock arm in arm. We're going to charge a hill, and we're going to go do great things.
Love that, man. We were there. So we were singing and dancing, having a good time with elephant ears.
With elephant ears. It just makes it even better. When you can sing and dance with an elephant ear, it's just even better, right?
The kids had a ball, and we're thankful for just, knowing the inner operations. Putting on an event with 100 people is a lot of work. Then you 500 people. When you really get into what goes into planning an event like this and establishing one, it's like you got emergency response crews, you got the fire department, you got ordinances in place and electrical stuff. You
there's
got sound equipment.
Much, and that's the other thing I try to think about with the negative and the critics is they have no concept what went into putting on a 3-day event like that, and which is why I can't give it a lot of time. I just have to accept the fact that they don't know. But that's any big topic over the years that we have tackled, or any big, community initiative, that when people don't fully understand it, they're going to just be critics as opposed to taking the time to truly understand. Right. And so they can't grasp what it takes and why we work year round on a 3-day festival like that. Or they can't grasp the big ticket items, or they think that somehow they became an expert on that in the last 24 hours. And so now they're on social media being an economic development expert or a quality of life expert. But really they're just angry about something else, and they just want to be angry. Right. And so we just got to stay focused, keep your head above water. And that's why I'm thankful for the leadership that we have in our community. I'm thankful for the business owners we have, the corporations we have, because I believe all those folks are interested in growing our community and doing great things on a daily basis, not spending time in the weeds over here and getting sucked in on that stuff.
Yeah. So gratitude and curiosity would be my biggest hope for folks that are in the weeds of anger or just committed to being upset. It's like be curious, I think, to discover gratitude. Like when you look at the layers of complexity with any entrepreneur support organization, or even you take the library, which is a great public service. You get into the weeds and the layers of like all the complexity within our library and our school systems and all the inner fabric of how it works, how it functions. Yeah. You become enlightened, and I think it gives you, it should give you a better understanding, which comes with some gratitude, and then hopefully some more ways that you could get involved and get effective.
It takes zero courage to sit behind a keyboard at 9 o'clock at night and fire off bombs. It takes zero courage to do it. It takes all the courage in the world to call the person you're firing bombs on and say, hey, can we grab a cup of coffee and have a face-to-face conversation? That takes courage. And so when you do that, though, and you have that coffee, oftentimes you walk away with a whole different understanding and you go, holy cow, I shouldn't be a critic of that. I shouldn't be throwing bombs because I had no idea. Now that I have an idea, guess what? Here's why people won't go have that coffee with you, because then they realize, wow, there are good things happening, and now maybe I need to roll up my sleeves and get up off my couch and do something or contribute to society in some productive way. And there's just some people that can't do that. So, it's just easier to sit behind a keyboard, and half the time anymore, it's either anonymous people or it's people that just don't want to participate in a big way. Yeah. So I would just tell people, hey, be the courageous one, be the one to step up and let's go make a difference.
Yeah, I love that. I think some people get hooked, like genuinely dopamine hooked, on likes and comments.
Oh, sure,
and I tell my entrepreneurs, push notifications and likes aren't nearly as cool as bank notifications. And bank notifications happen when you're building and doing sales and doing outreach and solving problems, serving customers. The social media thing's great. You should be on there and you should share who you are, what you do, why it matters, why you're the logical choice, all these things. But when you become addicted to your cell phone, you become addicted to the likes and the notifications, and then sometimes triggering, right, creates these, or the negative thing is typically what gets the most engagement and views. That's why our media is so negative most of the time, is because it creates comments, it creates engagement. So there are people that know that as well, and I think they maybe don't know they're hooked on it, but they become really, really indulged and invested in meta products. And when when you're aggressively curious and you start researching things, like Meta was built by very smart psychological engineers.
Sure.
And you get into the inner weeds, you gotta be cautious with taking consuming anything.
Yeah.
But specifically when you get into the weeds of this digital consumption, a lot of times people don't really regulate that or even consider that. Or if they're being honest, they probably couldn't. It would take some practice to put this thing away. And so there's just food for thought, right? If anybody is...
Well, look, if you start looking at it as the best likes that you could want to accumulate in life, or when you close a deal and people want to do business with you, that like is better than any like you'll ever get on social media. When somebody says, hey, I want to lock arm in arms with you and go charge that hill and put on a community event, that's the best like you could get from somebody than a like on social media. When people say, how do we make our community a better place? Let's do this together. That's the best like you could get. And the list goes on, right? The best like you can get is having some time with your family. The best like, you could make the list of what the true best likes are in life, and really look at that and go, wow, that truly outweighs these likes on social media.
This is how you're going to spend your time. Who do you want to be is a great question that people should ask themselves. And I've done that throughout my life. I mean, you have too, and I think some people do, but maybe some people don't either. Maybe some people haven't really asked themselves, who do I want to be?
Yeah.
I think when you're job interviewing, right, you're oftentimes looking at, well, what do I get? Is a common train of thought. What do I get? But very few people also they don't often think about, well, who do I become?
Sure.
In this role, in this activity that I'm doing, my daily, you're gonna dedicate a lot of time to your work and your craft. So an important question, as we're talking about auditing and self-leadership and leadership in general, is who do I want to be?
Yeah.
Who am I becoming? Right. And maybe that's the catalytic change.
It's the gift of your life concept. You either believe that your life is a gift or you don't. And if you believe your life is a gift, then why wouldn't you want to share that gift with other people? And so when you start thinking like that and realizing, how did I get here? I'm the only me, right? And we get one shot at this life. And so, for me, I believe my life's a gift from God. Other people might believe their life is a gift, however they believe, and that's okay. But at the end of the day, it's your gift, it's your life, it's unique, and there's only one of you. So how is it that you take that and understand that and say, wow, this is what I want to get out of my life because I get one shot at this. Like I haven't been walking down the road yet and run into somebody that I know that passed away and went, "Oh, Bob, you're back." Right? There's no second chance at this. Right. It's one chance. So am I going to maximize my life? Am I going to persist every day to get the most out of this life I can get? You know, on my tombstone, I don't want to dash between the year I was born and the year I died. You know, I hope my family puts an exclamation mark in between those years because that's how I want to believe I live my life, that I want to maximize this the most that I can, whether it's my entrepreneurial journey, whether it's my family, whether it's you name it. Throw me an exclamation mark because I want to believe that I was all in and that I gave back more than I took out. And when you start having that mindset and that mentality, all of a sudden you find yourself contributing to society and doing great things and doing better things. And the people that you get surrounded with by that are just phenomenal.
I want to look up this guy's name. I want to give him credit. Bradley. You know Bradley?
I've heard of Bradley.
Dropping Bombs, right?
Bombs.
He owns that podcast.
Yep.
We're acquainted through friends, but he had a couple guests on the show. They were talking about the gift of life, and he was describing this story to these guys, or he kind of mentioned it. He was like, he said, answer this question for me. Would you want $10 million? Like, I'll give you $10 million. And the guys on the show were like, of course, yeah. And they were like, well, the only caveat is you can't wake up tomorrow. You can have it for 24 hours. They're like, oh, no, keep it. So when you have that mentality, if what they're saying is accurate across other human beings, it's like you're saying that your life when you wake up is more than 10 million.
Sure.
So that's how you equate it to a gift, is the reality that you wouldn't trade 10 mil or 20 or 30 probably, right? Unless, you know,
and
you got a radical train of thought.
I add on to that with the, let's just say that today was your day where, you know, the Grim Reaper shows up, puts his hand on your shoulder and says to you, today's your day, let's go. Because you never know when that moment's going to happen. If that happened to you today and you thought about the last 24 hours of your life, is it a 24 hours you'd want to go out on? Right? That's different than 24 hours notice. 24 hours notice, we might be like, party, calling everybody, having the greatest time, right? But
9 holes in the morning.
Right, 9 holes. Can I get 36 holes in? But when you don't get the notice and it's just, boom, here we go, it's done. What did that 24 hours look like? Right. Were you accomplishing things and doing things that you believed in were making a difference? Right. That you were working toward making your community a better place? You were working toward spending time with friends and family and making sure the people around you know that you love them so that if that moment ever came, well, people did know you loved them. And people know you cared. And then maybe you get that exclamation put on your tombstone, right? And so that's how my mindset constantly is that if there's ever that time, and it'll happen, that I exit this earth, did I maximize my life? And my life gets maximized by the people in my life, you know, my wife, my children, my friends, my coworkers, you know, that maximizes my life. It adds to my life. And I just have to have the mindset that I've got to be in a position to do the same thing for them.
Love that, man. Real quick, do you have that card that you showed me in your wallet?
Dude, listen, I have carried
just because I want the... That's your camera right there.
That's my camera.
Just tell me about that.
So about 40 years ago or so, I read this little quote and I loved it. And so I typed it up and laminated it. And you can see, I mean, this thing is,
can you zoom in on that?
It's fragile.
You can see
it's fragile, right? Like I keep it in my wallet, and it says, you know, some want success. Others must have it, must. They are not merely interested, they are passionate. They are not merely motivated, they are possessed. And those are the people who succeed. And I've carried this with me in my wallet ever since my young entrepreneurial days because I do want to be passionate about what I do. I want to be passionate about not only the Wyman Group and our real estate company, I want to be passionate about our community. I want to be passionate about people who are making a difference in our community. And that type of passion, you combine that with everything else in entrepreneurship, and look out, we're going to charge that hill and we're going to get to the top of the hill. Yeah. And there's going to be bumps in the way. There's going to be obstacles. There's going to be all these things. But at the end of the day, we are going to be passionate and possessed about it, and we are going to be successful. And so, yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. I carried that for 40 years in my wallet. It's never left. And hope it never will.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for being on the show. Yeah. One more time, where can people find you?
Yeah. You can call me on my cell phone, 765-419-1021, or shoot me a text message.
Easy.
Yeah, easy.
Thanks again, man. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Appreciate you.